What is going on, Coffee Nation? In this video, we're going to be ranking units based on how good of a Mage Knight they would be. And you might be confused as to what these rankings mean, like brutal, on fire. Okay, so let me explain. All right, so these are all based on Drogos from Paladins. So the first S rank is brutal. A rank is You're on Fire. Find that. Here we go. Alright, that's A rank. B rank is okay.
Okay.
So there's okay. D, or I'm sorry, these are in the wrong order. I don't know why. How do we move these? There we go. Alright. C rank is what?
What?
And D rank is dragon noises, which... There you go, so that's D rank. Alright, these are out of order on my soundboard, but you get it, so... Okay, so let's start. Let's start with Alchrist. So I'm going to be evaluating these generally based on magic growth rate, speed growth rate, and bases. So obviously some units are going to be way better than others on Mage Knight. For the case of Alchrist, he has pretty poor magic growth, but he does have decent speed. He also has good strength, so he could theoretically just be a Mage Knight that just like smacks things. So I'd say he's like okay. He could just smack things with like a melee weapon. He's not going to be, he doesn't have the highest base strength, but he has okay build, so he could wield, you know, like a sword or whatever, like a sword or a lance as a Mage Knight, like a physical one, and then to some degree use magic. Mage Knight doesn't have like the best physical attack. It has some, but it's not going to like boost him up to insane levels. Now, Alir has 20% magic growth and 50% speed and decent strength. I'd say Alir is like here as a Mage Knight. Alir would be okay as a Mage Knight, I would say. Alir just has decent overall growths, and you get Alir early, so you could get Alir on Mage Knight pretty early from Master Ceiling and Second Ceiling, and then afterwards you could start, you know, benefiting from the extra magic growth. So you'd be at 45% magic growth, which isn't bad. It's not going to be like hard carrying, but it's definitely it's a little bit like low A tier. Alfred, this is assuming no DLC too, by the way. Alfred, he has 5% magic growth, so he's not getting in there. His speed is okay, but the 5% magic growth, you're looking at 30% magic growth. So this is Dragon Noises tier for sure. All right, we have Amber next. So let me actually. There we go. If they get in this, they get the Dragon Noises. Let me organize these Dragon Noises really quick. We have. We have You're on Fire. We have okay. Okay.
Please.
We have Please.
Stepping away for a moment.
All right, we got What, and we just have to find. Where is it? We have to find Brutal. Dude, I love when he goes brutal. It's just so stupid. Here we go. Alright, we gotta push this.
Brutal.
Alright, we gotta push this bad boy in here. We have Brutal. We have You're on Fire. Okay, what dragon? Alright, we got these. Alright. So, alright, Amber. Amber, everyone's favorite unit. 0% magic growth. Sorry, buddy. You're going in Dragon. Alright, Anna is definitely brutal. She's very fast. She has really good magic growth. She's one of the best Mage Knights in the game. You knew it was happening before you clicked on the video. Alright, Boucheron, he does have good speed, but he has 0% magic growth and only 20% strength. I would say he's also in Dragon Noises. Alright, next we have Bune, or Buno. Alright, so he has low speed, he has low magic, he has some build. He arguably could be a physical magic beater, but he doesn't have the speed to double, and I feel like Magic Knight wants to double. It's like its entire purpose. It's all about improving speed. So I would say, I'll put him like higher D tier.
Okay.
Alright, so higher D tier. Sailing. Now, is Sailing the solution here? So 25% magic growth, 45% speed, and only 5% build. The other thing you have to consider too is Magic Knight does not give build. So the only thing Magic Knight really improves is res growth magic growth, and to some degree, speed, strength, and HP all by 5%, and defense is by 10. So it only really helps you on the magic and res front. So if a unit's lacking build, if a unit's lacking speed, they're not going to be the best Magic Knight, but Saileen's obviously a magic user who's already kind of a hybrid. So I'd say she's like here. I find her to be too slow. I'll put her in high B tier. So, all right, so okay. All right, next we have Chloe. So Chloe is very fast, and she actually has 35% magic growth. Honestly, she'd probably be a really good Magic Knight. 35% magic growth gets her to 60% magic growth from the 25, and then her 55% speed becomes 60 on Magic Knight, and she has at least 5% build. But her speed and her magic would actually keep her relevant. She'd actually be a very solid Magic Knight. She also has high dex growth, 40%. So she tends to have pretty good dex. So, all right, so she's in Brutal. Citrine. Now, Citrine has high magic growth. She has kind of medium speed. I would say she's like A tier. She's definitely better than Alear at this, because she at least has like the damage magnitude. She's going to have a hard time doubling because, like, you know, over 30 level ups, 30% versus 50% speed is 6 points of speed. So that's not really ideal. But with some speed fixing, she could probably double some things, like armors and stuff like that. All right, next we have Clan. Now, Clan is fast, and he does have high strength, so I think he would actually be an okay, like, physical Magic Knight. Now, he would require a lot of investment. Maybe he'd be, like, here, to be honest. He would just be okay. He would just be okay. I wouldn't put him any higher than this. He does require a lot of, like, early level ups, and he can be kind of difficult to level up, because he starts off so low, you know, and you have to feed him kills, and it's just annoying, and I don't think it's really worth it. All right, Diamant. Diamant has pretty good speed, pretty good build growth, and pretty good strength. So he'd be like one of the physical Mage Knights that just whacks dudes. His magic growth is only 15%. 40% isn't the worst, but it's unlikely he's going to be like a hard carry on Magic Knight. Mage Knight. I keep calling it Magic Knight. All right, the other units are all down here, which is unfortunate. All right, Etier, everyone's favorite unit. 35% speed growth, 40% strength. Her bases are kind of low. She has to level up a lot. I would say she's like C tier. I think that's like the definition. She would be a physical Magic Knight, so she wouldn't really be carrying. All right, just throwing a PK Thunder in there, just for good measure. All right, Fagato. Fagato actually be really good at this. He has good strength. He has 25% magic growth, 55% speed. He has good build growth. He has good base stats. He joins at a point in time where it's easy to invest in him, and he has good bases. I would say he's like high A tier as Mage Knight. He's actually good on like Radiant Bow, so he would be also like similarly good on like Levin Sword or something like that. 25% magic growth, 55% speed, good bases, good availability. You don't have to baby him like some of these. Honestly, probably switch these around. Because he requires babying. All right, Fram as a Mage Knight. Now, Fram does have good speed. Actually, should be okay at this. Should be like here, I think. Fram's bases aren't the best, but she levels up just because she's your only healer forever. And this keeps her in line with your team, unlike with Clan, who has to be fed kills. Honestly, I'm demoting him. He has to be fed kills in order to level up. So that means that these aren't getting kills. Or even this, like these three aren't getting kills, and these scale well better into the end game than these, for sure. But Fram just levels herself up, and all you'd have to do is just switch her class, and she has, you know, pretty good growth. She has some dex, 30 or 55% speed. She does have 0% build though, which is unfortunate, but she has high speed growth, so that kind of offsets it. She has decent strength, good magic. Low HP, but she could deal. I've actually used Fram Mage Knight and it was good, so I already know that it's good. And this was before the well too. It was good, so keep that in mind. Gold Mary. She's kind of slow, but her base speed isn't bad. Her magic growth isn't the best. She's better off on physical rolls. She would be like a physical Mage Knight that just like smacks things and leverages her defense and strength. So she'd basically be better off on something else, but she would be okay. She'd be okay at it. She would be okay at it. All right, Hortensia. Hortensia actually pretty high speed, 40 or 50% speed, 20% strength and magic. I would say she would be solid. She would be like here. She she has better availability, but she's already on a magic class, so there's like less effort to get her on Mage Knight. But these I'd say are kind of similar in terms of their effectiveness on Mage Knight. She would probably need some Spirit Dust or some damage improvement, maybe Sword Power on Levin Sword. But she's fast enough that she can double. She also has 0% build growth. Next we have Ivy. Ivy on Mage Knight is pretty solid. I would say it's like here. I don't know that it's S tier, just because of the speed. Now, if we're factoring in the well, maybe. Because Ivy has decent bases. I feel like Ivy has more bulk than her sister. She can tank a little bit better. In terms of growths, she doesn't have like the most impressive growths, but she would be at 55% magic growth, 45% speed, and she does have 10% build. Honestly, I'll put her in low S because of the build. So the build helps offset her speed, and she has decent enough growth. She also has 35% res and 30% defense growth, which does matter because tanking is good. Like having high defensive growths matters. I think Hortensia has like really low HP in her defense. She actually does have 25% defense growth though, and 55% res. Maybe she moves down. I think that's fair. I feel like these are so much faster than everything else, and they have the stats for it. She just has crazy speed, dex, and magic growth, and she's just a solid unit that can snowball early, that has really good growths as well, and decent bases. These definitely require more effort. Maybe this is here, and this is here. I think that's fair. Okay. The next one, Kagetsu. Everyone's favorite unit. All right, now as a Mage Knight, he does a 50% dex and speed. He also has 40% defense growth and 10% build, 15% magic growth. So he would still be at 40%. He could also use physical. He would probably be like here. Maybe like here. He's not going to be the best at leveraging the magic aspect of the class, which is kind of the entire point. But he would be good enough at killing things and doubling, which is kind of his thing. And his bases are pretty solid. He has some of the best bases in the game. Arguably, his bases are better than most in terms of like availability. Get him post chapter 11, so chapter 12 and onward. And if you switch him onto, in my opinion, a better class, he'll do better. So he would be pretty solid. He wouldn't be like one of these though. He doesn't have like the growths for it. All right, Lapis. So Lapis is also fast. 55% speed growth, 20% magic, 25% strength. She can be on the weaker side. I would say she's like maybe low A tier, maybe high. I'll put her in high B, just because she's, tends to be slow. The magic growth isn't really there. Her bases aren't the best. I think she's a better Wyvern for sure. I mean, obviously because she's not a mage, but yeah, she's pretty solid on Wyvern. All right, Louis. I think he has 0% magic growth. He has no speed, so he's not going to be able to do much on this class. He can go for like smacking things.
What?
He can go for smacking things with like a physical weapon, but there's better classes for that, so he wouldn't be that good. He wouldn't be Dragon Noise bad though. He would just be what bad. All right, next we have. I'm sorry, I skipped these two. Jade. Pretty sure she also has no magic. Jade, where are you? There you are. All right, actually she has 25% magic growth. 25% magic growth, some strength, some speed, some build. I'll put her in like here. She at least has the magic growth. She at least has some speed. She's not going to be doubling consistently. She could probably double out like armors and stuff like that, but nothing beyond that. And that's with speed fixing. And you want to be doubling on Mage Knight because all of its weapons are magic, and magic has a hard time critting. So there's no like crit build. So doubling is very essential to Mage Knight. All right, Jean. Jean actually might be a bad Mage Knight. So Jean, he has the 40% speed, the 20% magic, and then he gets his, like, the growths doubled. So whatever the growths are on Mage Knight, so he would get 50% magic, and then 10% speed, 20% defense, and so on. Now, that's not bad. So let me think about this. So he'd be plus 50%, so he'd be 70% magic growth, which is pretty good. He'd be 50% speed. Yeah, I guess he would be good. And then he would still just be at 5% build, but he would be decent. I'll put him in A. Put him in high A tier. I wouldn't say S though, just because I feel like she's easier to get online than him, so he requires that extra little bit of effort, unless you just have him be a second dedicated healer, in which case she still has better growths than him on Mage Knight by a few percent, like for everything. Like she has slightly higher magic growth, she has slightly higher speed, and I also believe, so he has 35% dex, and on Mage Knight, he would be getting no dex increase, so she would just be 15% more dex on him, which does matter long term for accuracy. So she's a lot better. All right, Lyndon, everyone's other favorite unit. He actually is pretty fast, 40% speed, so he'd be 45% speed and 50% magic, 10% build. He would actually be good. I don't know if he'd be S tier, but he would be up there with the A tiers. So
You're on fire.
So he would be on fire, I would say. He'd be viable. Mavier, 40% magic growth, 35% speed, 50% build. He has interesting growths. He has like high strength and magic growth, which is pretty good. He also has good dex. His speed could be better, but it's not so terrible that it's, like really low. I would say he's like here. He's like here. I mean, he's a late game unit. His availability is terrible. You only have him for a few chapters, but he has decent bases, and you could switch him on this to increase his speed. And with some speed fixing, he should be doubling like most of the enemies, I would say, with like Speed Taker. His bases, for reference, I can pull those up. I have them right here. So his base speed is 22 on Royal Knight, and I believe Mage Knight is faster, so that's not bad. That's like workable. So with like Speed Taker, if he gets 5 kills, which endgame maps have enemies at the wazoo, there's tons of enemies on endgame maps, he would easily hit plus 10 speed, and that gets him to 32 to 35 speed, depending on how much speed you get on Mage Knight. If you get him to Mage Knight level 5, you're looking at plus 3 more speed. That's consistently doubling, I would say, most of the endgame enemies, aside from the very fast ones. So that's not bad. That's viable. All right, for the next guy, Marin. So Marin's interesting because I'm pretty sure she has mixed growth. She has 25% magic and strength, and she also has 50% speed and 10% build growth. Potentially, she could be like a potential S tier Mage Knight, because she'd be at 50% magic growth, 55% speed, and 10% build. So she has like the kind of perfect combination of build, speed, and magic, which is what Mage Knight wants, because they're either using Levin Sword or Bolganone, both of which are heavy. So I'm going to put her in low S tier, to be honest. I feel like that's fair. Pandreo is probably the best Mage Knight in the game, because he has 15% build growth, 45% speed, 45% dex, and 30% magic. Now, he's going to be dealing less damage than Anna, but his passive is more combat-oriented, whereas her passive is more money-oriented. So he can improve his hit rates, even though he doesn't really need it because he has high dex, but he can also improve his avoid, and he can run avoid weapons better than Anna. So both of them are fast. He also has more build. She has a little bit more speed. He has more build. So that's one way to look at them. He does have the more combat-oriented passive. I would say he's not that much better than her in this role. Like, she does require more to get online, just in like a chapter or two of just babying or just having her on Micaiah. But they're very similar in terms of damage, and he does have more bulk for the most part. He has better bases, obviously. You get him later, though, so like it depends on how much XP she's fed. She'll be very similar in terms of performance to him, but I would say they're almost tied, but he has a slight edge, for sure. Okay. So he is...
Brutal. Forgive me. You challenge stepping
All right.
away.
You challenge Makoa? Okay. All right. All right, we have Panette. Okay, Panette, 25% speed, 45% strength, 15% build. So she's not going to be doubling very well. Her base speed isn't that high. Her magic isn't the best. Her strength is good, though, so I would say she's, like, here. If she would just be one of the... I'm a physical unit on a magic class for no reason.
Thanks.
So she would be a thanks. All right, Risotto. 25% magic growth. 45. Weirdly, he only has 5% build growth. I mean, it kind of makes sense because he's trying to be like... He's not like some rough and tough guy type thing. But he does have good dex, good speed, good defense and res. Some build... Pretty high strength growth of 45%, 25% magic growth. I would put him like low A tier on Mage Knight because he has speed. He would be 50% speed. He would be 50% magic. That's pretty solid. That's not bad. And he also has this ridiculous strength value, so he could actually use the physical weapons a little bit better than like some of these. Some of them are also most of the things in here can either excel on the magic or also excel like on the hybrid. So like some of them are good at the hybrid aspect of it, which, you know, generally you don't even need though. So it's kind of like a waste. So it's whatever. All right, next we have Bo Grandma, aka Saphir. So she has no magic growth. She just has strength. She has low speed. I would say she's what? Maybe like worse than him.
What?
All right, the Dancer. I wouldn't do it. Don't do it.
PK fire!
All right, we got double PK in there. Don't switch him off Dancer. That's a waste. He's the only one who can be on Dancer. Even if he was remotely good on this, I'll still evaluate him. Let's say he wasn't the Dancer. We'll evaluate him this way. Sadal. Where are you at, dude? Here he is. 15% magic growth, 25% strength, 50% speed. Honestly, if you didn't have to throw out the Dancer to get this, he'd be like a B, maybe low A, probably a higher B. His magic growth, if it was a little bit better, he'd have more damage. But the speed and the magic is okay. He has 10% build, maybe like low A tier. Okay, next we have Tamara. Everyone's favorite unit. It's such a controversial unit for some reason. I don't understand it. All right, 45% speed growth, 25% magic and strength, 10% build, 45% dex, 30% defense, res, and luck. She has pretty good growths on the average. She's kind of general, so she could be, I would say she's like here. No, she's definitely better than Citrine. She's definitely better than like some of these. She's like here. Because she has good speed, good build growth, good magic and strength, so she could run hybrid, or she could actually just be a mage. 50% magic growth, 50% speed, with 10% build. That's like the winning combination, or one of them. That's like an A tier. She would actually be decent at it. Sami, I'll put in what?
Forgive me.
All right, so... All right, Vander. What? Vander goes right into roar tier. 10% magic growth, 35% speed, high internal level, hard to level up. He's just outclassed by everything. He's just a terrible unit. All right, next we have everyone's favorite Lil Dragon. Everyone's favorite 1,000-year-old Lil Dragon, Vale. So Vale only has 30% speed, but she has 45% magic growth. So she's kind of like a bad Anna. She also has 0% build, but she at least has high magic stats. So for that reason, I'll put her like here. She's not going to be doubling super consistently. Her bases are okay. With speed fixing, she could probably double most of things. But a lot of these other units are just fast enough to double without that much speed fixing. She would need more speed fixing than these. And these actually are quite fast. She's quite fast. But she has high magic stats, so she could probably make use of that for single hitting, for big damage. I don't think it's her best class, but she'd be okay on it. She's actually a mage too, so that kind of helps. Helps her out a little bit. All right, Yunaka here. All right, Yunaka. Before you try it, don't Yunaka. All right, there we go. I finally used that terrible joke I've been thinking about ever since launch. There it is. Okay, 45% speed, 25% magic. Her bases are kind of okay. Her availability is good. 5% build. It takes forever to advance seal her. You have to level her up quite a bit. I'm gonna put her like low B tier. So
Okay.
all right, Zelkov. So he has lower speed and lower magic, but higher build. Honestly, I'm gonna put him here. I don't think he'd be that good of a Mage Knight.
What?
What? All right, Grigori. It's a me, Grigori. All right, Grigori. No, it's Gregory. I'm just messing with you. All right, 25% speed, 50% magic. He has pretty good bases. Pretty sure his base speed isn't that good though, so I'll check that. His base speed is 13, so he's not doubling anything. But because he has high magic stat, I'll put him like medium, like mid B tier as a Mage Knight. He's not going to be doubling very well. I'm going to have to zoom out. He's not going to be doubling very well. He's going to be hitting hard, but Mage Knight really wants to double, and it's kind of a waste. It'd be like putting Louis on Griffin Knight and trying to get him to double. Like, it's not going to happen. you can like try to brute force it, but it's probably not going to happen. All right, Madeline. She is kind of okay bases, but they're more geared towards tanking, and her growth's 15% speed, 20% magic. She's gonna be like here. She's not gonna be
Okay.
she's not gonna be okay. All right. She's gonna be what? All right. Next we have Nell. So Nell is actually fast, 45% speed, 10% build, and 25% magic. So that's like at least low A tier as a Mage Knight. That's not bad. So the reason why that matters, just as good base speed. The reason why the speed matters and the magic stat matters is the magic stat is your damage, the speed is your ability to double, the build is also factored into speed. So having high speed and 10% build is just extra speed essentially. To a point, once you hit certain thresholds, the speed doesn't matter. Now obviously, this is for no DLC, but all right, so here's how I'm assuming you'd be running this. You would unlock her and then just not use the DLC outside of that. That's kind of the assumption. That's kind of how I play the game, honestly. Like in my one DLC run, like I say, I'm using it. So I have to make another save file. Dude, I have like 10 save files. This needs to stop. I don't like making all these save files to unlock these, but I need to make a save file where you would be running her, like these units, without doing any divine paralogs. I think that would be the best way to use them. So this would be in that situation. So I'm assuming she's just like a unit you have access to, like chapter, I don't know, 13 to 15, something like that. Okay. Rafal. So he has 10% build, which is nice, but 35% speed and 10% magic growth. He would be like, I don't know, here. He could be like smacking things. He'd be one of those, just smack them with physical. He wouldn't be a good Mage Knight per se. All right, and then finally, everyone's favorite new unit. I'm assuming this. I don't actually know this or not. Celestia. So she has 50% speed growth, 35% magic, and 5% build. And her bases, she has high base build already, which does matter because that offsets Bolganone and Levin sword weight. So she theoretically should be like here, maybe even here. I'll have her here because it's harder. Like, she has better availability, and you have to beat an entire DLC to get her, so that's kind of a point against her if I had to choose between one or the other. I don't want to have to beat an entire DLC every time I want to run a specific unit, but they're pretty close, pretty evenly matched in terms of, like, speed, in terms of stats. However, Celestia does have better strength growth than Chloe. But Chloe's magic growth is the same, and she has higher speed, but 5% lower build, so it's kind of like a trade-off. So arguably, you could say Celestia is better in terms of stats, but the availability knocks you down. So I guess we'll put her here, why not? All right, so here's the list. Let me just double check, make sure I'm not missing anyone, because that happens, because there's so many things. All right, so in the brutal tier, we have Pandrea is the best. I think that makes sense. Anna is very high. I think she's a really good unit. She snowballs pretty easily with basic investments, and it's worth it because she has really good growth rates. So she's like a growth unit that actually pops off, which is kind of rare in Fire Emblem. They usually hand you these like meme growth units that are terrible. And then you have Celestia, Chloe, and Marin. Marin might be weird to some people. She has decent enough starting build. Her build on Wolf Knight. Wolf Knight has low build, but her build on Wolf Knight is 9. So if you switch her to Mage Knight, it should still be like 8 to 9, which is close enough that with a weight fixing engraving, or even just like patience, you know, because she has 10% build growth, she will eventually be able to wield her weapons like Bolganone and Levin Sword as weightless. So you should be able to have weightless weapons in that case. And for Chloe, I feel like if you just run her early enough, she can just pop off and she just snowballs speed. Her base speed is really high. Then as she levels up, she gets even more speed. And if she snowballs early, she would be a really solid Mage Knight. But these, I would say, are the best ones. And then these are pretty solid. Some of these, like I'd say, like some of these are pretty close to S tier. These are like high A tier. And these are like low S tier. So these are actually closer to each other than these are. So that's one way of looking at it. I can even bump her down to like high A, just to kind of like bridge the gap. But yeah, I'd say it's like this. Potentially these switch places, actually, now that I think about it. Because she has more build and higher base build. Chloe's starting build is 5, and then it goes to, I think, 6 on Wyvern. It goes to 6 or 7 on Wyvern, so she doesn't have the best build, and I think she only has 5% growth on it. Yeah, she only has 5% growth on it, so maybe actually Marin is a little bit better. Just because she has the magic. She's the magic, she's the speed, and she's the build. And Kagetsu, you know, you might argue Kagetsu could go, but he lacks the magic stat. He's very similar to Marin in this way, in this specific case. So they both have the same speed. She has 10% more magic than him, which does matter long term. You could argue he moves up slightly, like maybe like here. You could argue some of these go into low S or some of these go into high A. I honestly don't see. I think some people overhype the difference between A and S tier. I don't think it's like that big of a leap. I think it's like high A and low S are so close. It's like an A plus versus like whatever is beyond an A plus, like an A plus plus. So I don't think it's like these are like these are way better than all of these, but these aren't that much better. So, all right, so that's it for my Mage Knight tier list. Definitely let me know if you agree or disagree with any of these and why. This is for no DLC. Obviously, these DLC units are DLC, but they would be run on a no DLC run of the game where you just beat the Xenologue. So that's the idea. So yeah, definitely like and subscribe. Feel free to drop comments, and I'll see you in the next one.